Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our National Voter Registration webinar, Democracy Goes Digital, our voter registration drive using online tools. We welcome you here today. I just want to remind you that on September 19th, 2023, we will have National Voter Registration Day, and we look forward to having you all there. With that said, I will hand it off to our facilitator for today, Caroline Mock.
So what is online voter registration? It allows voters to register to vote, update or check their voter registration through a secure and accessible online portal. It's been in use for more than 2 decades because of NVRA, aka Motor Voter, and it's currently in 41 states, DC and Guam. Maine is in the process of implementing it. Some benefits: it is less expensive for states to process than paper registrations. Also, it's very convenient for some, and then reduces the opportunity for illegibility compared to paper. Also boosts the integrity of our voter rolls. So 41 states, these are the 41 states that allow online voter registration, with Maine being the newest addition in November 1st, 2023 this year. Note on non-OVR states, so there are some states that may say that they have online voter registration, but it's actually just an option to pre-fill a paper form. That is not the online voter registration in terms of the states that we're talking about today. But note that some states, even though they don't have online, they may also be able to mail a pre-populated paper form with prepaid postage. Just check out those options if you don't have online voter registration in your state. So today we're going to be really looking at two main options for online voter registration: a state portal and a third-party portal. Start with state portals. So each of these 40 states has their own online portal that can be used to register to vote. Typically, doing this requires some kind of driver's license or state ID. So these are the 3 third-party online voter registration partners that we work with as National Voter Registration Day. On our website, it randomly chooses between these 3 tools, and the speakers today are representatives from each of these 3 tools that can also answer your questions. Note that this is different than the state tool that I was just talking about. This is the second kind. So features of third-party OVR tools. They serve all 50 states plus DC. If state-specific online registration is available and voters are eligible to use it, then it redirects to the state portal. Otherwise, it provides a national voter registration form for users to download, print, and mail. Otherwise, it does not collect or store social security numbers. Also, these third-party tools can provide email reminders and follow-up. Additional features of third-party OVR tools. The interface is typically available in multiple languages, can be embedded on your website, also includes directions on returning those paper forms, as well as sometimes the pre-address where it needs to go to the County Board of Elections. It also allows tracking of voter registrations on a dashboard, but with paid accounts typically. So how third-party OVR tools work. Now, if you're interested in using a third-party OVR tool, there's nothing that really replaces going through one directly. So I would highly recommend just going to our website and just trying out what it looks like. But in words, this is how the flow works. First, someone fills out their personal information: name, address, citizenship, whether they're 18 plus. Then it asks if you have a driver's license or state ID to register online. If you do have one, you can continue to complete your registration online, but it will redirect you to the state portal registration page where you fill out that personal info again and then submit it. If you do not have an ID, typically will continue via paper mail route. So it uses the information that you previously provided on that portal to pre-fill a national voter registration form. The user can print, sign, and mail that form to finish the registration. This is the option that is by default provided to people when there is no online registration in a state like Texas, for example. There are just a few exceptions to this flow. Certain states and some third-party tools directly integrate with the state OVR database. For example, Pennsylvania and Michigan have an API, meaning that the 2 tools can kind of talk to each other. So what this looks like is that in step 2, if yes, they have an ID, that information that they previously filled out will be sent directly to the state without leaving the third-party portal. Therefore, less drop-off and there's no redirect. and they don't need to fill out that personal information again, which is nice. So now that you've heard a little bit about third-party OVR tools and state OVR tools, let me just say both can leverage interactive formats like QR codes, phones, tablets. As long as you have that link, you can make a QR code. Both reduce the burden of paper collection and potential illegible handwriting. And both typically require the citizen 18+ checkbox in their web form to be filled out before proceeding, thereby reducing the chances of applications submitted that have missing information. If any of you have done paper registration, you know that those two checkboxes, it's just somehow someone always misses it because it's very small. Some forms are not very user-friendly. So doing the online form, it typically requires those boxes, so you can't proceed without it. Lastly, both of these can be more approachable than a dense government paper form with typeface that might be very small or just hard to read or just very intimidating with a lot of instructions and very condensed format. You've seen those forms. So state OVR portals. Why might you choose to use a state OVR portal? Well, these are especially useful when you're only working in one state, and you can get really familiar with what that state portal looks like. If your state offers free tracking and unique links for organizations, so for example, Colorado, if you want to use your state's voter registration form and not the national one, third-party portals only generate on the national ones, just keep that in mind. And if your state has a voter info portal, there's kind of typically some states like Michigan have a one-stop shop where you just look up your registration, check your registration, also look up your polling place, or request a mail ballot all in one place. So if there's other things that you want to assist your voter with, that might be just a good place to do all of that in one go. Some community considerations for state OVR portals. If community members often do not have an email or phone, you may want to use the state portal. Most states do not require these. Some third-party tools do. Community members often use the state portal when community members often have state ID. They can take advantage of just fully registering online. Otherwise, you'll need those paper forms. Community you work with may distrust a third-party tool. And then lastly, if you have a lot of people who may have registered recently and need to check the most up-to-date database. Third-party tools are national. There may be just a short delay between the state database and the national tools if you registered in the last week or two. Sometimes this can happen. So here's some reasons to use a third-party OVR. When you work in more than one state, like colleges, companies, etc., you want to embed a low-maintenance online registration tool into your website. Your state's user interface is not accessible or in language, and you're maybe not sure or don't have the time to learn how to navigate your state's voter portal website, all of that. And your state's website may not be mobile friendly. Community considerations. If your community mostly does not have ID and often needs a voter registration form, then third-party tools can have instructions on how to return it in those generated PDFs. They often pre-fill which county board of elections it should go to as well. So it's just nice to have kind of all those instructions generated for you. You may not want to look it up on which county board of election does this person need to go to. You want people to get automated reminders about when elections are coming up. Third-party tools, when you sign up, will do that. You might want to track or report how many people you registered through the tool. That requires a paid subscription typically. And then maybe you want the data to do direct follow-up with voters. This also requires typically a paid subscription. So maybe that all went over your head and you're just like, I just want to register people online. Totally fine. National Voter Registration Day provides online voter registration tools free for you to use in the posters and stickers that we provide when you sign up. And if you want swag, on the back of the poster is this lovely QR code that goes to our website, nationalvoterregistrationday.org/register-to-vote. And so that goes to that page, which randomly selects between one of the 3 third-party tools. And same with this QR code sticker that you see, the red one, register to vote here. You kind of put it on different places and scan it with your phones. And it'll just kind of direct you to that page. We won't be able to give you tracking numbers, however, but at the very least, if you just want to avoid paper this year and you just want to use kind of a interactive format, then this is a great option, which requires no additional thought. So now that I've given you a little bit of an overview of the tools, we're going to have you hear from our good friend, Alex McHenry, who has a lot of experience in the field doing online voter registration. So Alex McHenry is the Director of Civic Engagement at the Community Resource Center and brings more than 12 years of experience in the fields of education, leadership, and community engagement. As Community Resource Center's Director of Civic Engagement, Alex oversees the voter engagement program, their voter engagement program, the Participation Project, helping nonprofits build and strengthen their civic engagement efforts. So Alex, please take it away.
Thanks, Caroline, and hello, everyone. So as Caroline said, I'm with Community Resource Center and really excited to talk to you all about how we have integrated some of these online voter registration tools into our voter registration program here in Colorado. So just a little bit about Community Resource Center. We are a statewide capacity building nonprofit, so we work across the state of Colorado. This is our mission statement here on the screen. We support, strengthen, and galvanize change makers across the nonprofit ecosystem, working together to create a more equitable Colorado. And we really do that in a variety of ways through leadership development, fund development, bringing diverse groups together to solve community issues. But as Caroline mentioned, the programs that I work most closely on are our civic engagement and advocacy capacity building programs. And the one I'll be talking about today is called the Colorado Participation Project. And through this program, each year we support anywhere from 15 to 45 direct service nonprofits to really integrate voter registration and voter education into their services. And we partner very closely with Nonprofit Vote and National Voter Registration Day to do this. So the types of partners we work with range from family resource centers to community health centers to libraries to homeless shelters, food banks, those types of organizations. And we're really looking to reach the communities they serve. So a lot of our voters are communities of color, lower income communities, and we serve a large percentage of Spanish-speaking communities. And for a long time, we did really do this through a lot of in-person voter engagement and using physical paper forms. But in recent years, and this was sort of expedited by the pandemic, we've been using more online tools. And so we actually use the Colorado Secretary of State's online portal, which is what you see on the screen here. We think it's a pretty easy platform for voters to navigate. It can be translated at the top there into Spanish. And it's sort of a one-stop shop where folks can register online, update their registration, check their registration. They can also track their ballot and things like that. So rather than using one of the third-party tools being discussed, we do use this portal. It also allows for great tracking on the back end. So we're able to track registrations from different partner nonprofits that we're working with. But a lot of how we have integrated this into our field program, I think, is still relevant, whether or not you choose to use a third-party tool or your state's online portal. But I just want to talk through, and Caroline touched on some of the benefits and barriers to online registration that we've come across, and kind of how we help our partners assess when online registration makes sense, and when we might need to have paper forms available as well. And so some of those benefits, as Caroline mentioned, it really does help with reducing errors. Speaking from experience as the person who often reviews all of those physical forms, it's really easy to miss check boxes or mess up dates on the paper forms. And the online portal does ensure that folks are filling out all of the required fields. That saves us a lot of time and money on the back end for data entry. And it also allows voters to be immediately registered. So if they're filling out a paper form, that form then is collected, and it takes us time to get it to the county clerk before they're actually entered into the system. So that can help build trust with voters when pretty immediately they can see that their registration has gone through online. And it has also helped us to increase accessibility. So a lot of the nonprofit partners we work with, we're thinking about how can they integrate voter registration and education into their services. And by having online tools, they've been able to put these on computers that are used during intake, use QR codes in various ways, which I'll talk about on the next slide. And there's also less regulations and responsibility. So We run a voter registration drive here in Colorado. And with paper forms, anyone who's helping register voters, they need to have undergone a circulator training with us. And so there's more time on that end. Whereas if someone is helping someone to register online, they don't need to have training to do that. They can walk them through the portal as long as the voter is the one entering their information. On the other side, we have encountered some barriers. So I will say we almost always have both online and physical forms available for voters. We have run into some tech issues. So, making sure that you have reliable Wi-Fi or you have backup tablets, just like issues with tablets getting too hot. It's super sunny here in Colorado. So for outside, sometimes tablets get too hot and shut down, or there's bad glare and it's hard to see the screens. Depending on the populations you're working with, we work a lot with the unhoused population as well as kind of the older population, and they may take them longer to complete it on a tablet if they're not used to using those types of devices. And we have experienced a little bit of just trust with online systems and people actually feeling more comfortable providing their personal information and social security number and things like that on a physical form. So the bottom line there is really just that the online voter registration, while it's a great value add to our program, it is not a silver bullet solution and really doesn't work for everyone all the time. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how some of our partner nonprofits have utilized the online tools and kind of integrated it into their outreach. We have a table there at a community health center out in Grand Junction, Marillac Health, using tablets and laptops at the tables. So folks have the option to fill out a paper form, but they can also fill out the online form right there. We've utilized a lot of QR codes. I think the pandemic really increased the use of QR codes at restaurants and things, and people have become more comfortable with them. This is a really easy option for folks who can then register using their phones. So we have put QR codes on posters and flyers that are up in waiting rooms at health centers, maybe at waiting rooms at some of our other family resource centers. All of the staff at these nonprofits have lanyards that have a kind of ID card on them with that QR code, so it's easy to bring up in conversation. And we've also seen these just on large banners and signs outside of nonprofits, so it's easy for folks to scan and then use their phones to register. And the other way that our nonprofits have utilized online registration to kind of boost engagement is through integrating it into their websites or having little pop-up windows. So anyone who visits their website gets a pop-up, are you registered to vote? And then it's linked to the online portal at the Secretary of State. So that's also proven really successful. We've worked with a lot of libraries who have actually put this on like the home screen on all of their public computers within the library to just boost engagement that way. Touching on some lessons learned, and I think my contact information will be shared out if anyone wants to reach out and chat more. But we have learned to always have backup hotspots available if you're relying on Wi-Fi, especially if you're going to be outside of a building. Making sure you have shade or the cases that iPads are in are compatible for being out in the sun and to help reduce glare. We have had a lot of success. Again, this might be specific to Colorado, but we are able to create those unique source codes for each of our nonprofit partners, which really helps us on the back end to track data and understand where folks are being registered and by which organizations. QR codes have been hugely successful for us, so we have continued to find new ways to integrate that into all of our program offerings. And the other thing we have found helpful is having kind of half sheets that talk about the security of online platforms or how widely they're used, so that if people are expressing hesitancy, we can share that information with them on a sheet that they could take home or having it available at the table. And then, as I mentioned, always having that paper option available helps build trust. And if the online system isn't working or the tablet shut off, we always have a way to still help those voters get registered.
Thank you, Alex. And so we'll just have the online voter registration tools come on in a moment. And kind of these are the tools that I mentioned earlier are on our National Voter Registration Day website. So first, I would like to invite Chris Colombo, who is Rock the Vote's Director of Corporate Partnerships, overseeing Brands for Democracy program and assisting companies with engaging and empowering their employees and customers to take civic action. So Chris, tell us more about Rock the Vote.
Thank you, Caroline, and hello, everyone. So happy to be here today. Going back a little bit, so in 1999, Rock the Vote built the first ever online voter registration tool to make it simpler for young people to vote. And our tech team has really been innovating ways to make access to democracy easier ever since. We've done this by working with election administration experts, researchers, state election officials to develop a suite of cutting-edge civic engagement tools and resources that register, educate, and mobilize voters. And you'll see those listed on the right side of the screen. But diving in a little bit deeper into our OVR tool. So through a two-step process, our OVR tool helps each user find the registration option for their specific situation based on their responses and state policies. So whether that's directly on our OVR tool, on their state's OVR website, or via a PDF form. The entire process takes around 2 minutes or less to complete. Our OVR tool is mobile friendly. It's available in 13 languages. It is rigorously and continuously tested, and it complies with all applicable state laws. Organizations can actually embed our OVR tool directly onto their website, and we offer customization options that can mimic a partner's branding or campaign. We also build what we call election centers for some of our partners, and those serve as sort of like a central hub for a suite of tools and resources that actually pivot automatically from voter registration to GOTV. And partners who utilize our tools have access to detailed data via a partner platform, so they're really able to monitor their success and impact. We also have on our website, and I'll post this in the chat in a little bit, a toolkit for incorporating our OVR tool into your own registration drive. And that toolkit includes everything you need to host like a really great in-person event, QR codes, virtual event guides. It covers everything from talking points to conversation scripts, integrating social media into your campaign. So it's really, really great and inclusive. To date, our OVR tool has processed over 14 million registration applications and counting.
Angelica, I would like to invite you onto the screen. So Angelica Smith is the Director of Partnerships at Democracy Works, a nonpartisan nonprofit organization that helps Americans vote by providing reliable, useful voting guidance through the sites, apps, and groups they trust. So, Angelica, please tell us more about TurboVote.
Thanks so much. Glad to be here with all of you today. Yeah, our flagship tool is called TurboVote and provides more than 15 million voters with the information that they need to cast their ballot with confidence. You can think about TurboVote like a customizable voter engagement hub, and it's used by nonprofits, employers, and colleges across the country to activate voters for each and every election. And when we partner with an organization, we essentially just build them their own co-branded TurboVote website. It's really easy to embed directly on your organization's website or link out to it via your email newsletter or social media. And our partners have access to data to help them understand their impact and also get to collaborate with our team to integrate TurboVote across their platforms and their voter outreach. So I just want to share a little bit about our kind of philosophy and approach. We know that all voters are essentially like just really busy people. They have a lot to do, many responsibilities, and frankly, just receiving information from all different directions. And on top of that, many are further burdened and face challenges as they navigate the process of getting registered, keeping the registration up to date, and voting in every election from local to presidential. And so this kind of guides how we build and evolve TurboVote and support our partners. We want to get voters accurate, timely, and just actionable information about every election that they're eligible to vote in. Our research team takes this charge very seriously, tracking down as many elections as possible. We're actually going to send election reminders to voters for over 3,000 elections in 2023 alone. That definitely gets you down to the school board level. And so we want our guidance to be easy to understand and to act on, and for voters to access this information in their everyday life from the websites they're already on and the organizations that they trust. I think that's probably many of the leaders of the groups that are in the audience today. So as it relates to registration, our voter registration assistance tool provides voters with step-by-step guidance to navigate the process. We share the registration options available in their state, the ID requirements for their state's portal, if that's applicable, so that they can make an informed decision about if they can go register online or want to do so on paper. And if they do need to register on paper because perhaps they don't possess that ID required to register online, or they're in a state that doesn't yet offer online voter registration, we can help them pre-fill that form, follow up with the steps that they need to take to submit that registration to their election officials. And we also know the power of the call to action to check your registration, right? That's can be super compelling. People move all the time. There's a number of reasons why someone might need to check their status. And so just a name, address, date of birth is required. And then TurboVote's Check Your Registration Status tool provides really detailed and thoughtful guidance to help folks either re-register if they need to, or check their status directly with their state. And it's super easy to just opt in to receive election reminders from TurboVote if you want to. And we also have a help desk that voters can reach out to at any time for support, where they can get additional help, maybe navigating their specific situation. That help desk and our entire TurboVote experience is fully available in both English and Spanish. And so when you go to TurboVote, super easy to access registration assistance or to check your status, but you can also just simply enter your address, see a calendar of your upcoming elections, and get the information you need. You know, when does early voting start? What's the deadline to request a mail ballot? How do you find your polling place? And so much more. I think we're really interested in trying to get everyone to vote in every single election. And we believe that empowering organizations that voters trust is really the path to achieve that goal. And so super excited to be here with some great colleagues today, and would love to connect with anyone that might be interested in learning more. Thank you.
I would like to invite Sydney Rose, who is the Senior Director of Policy and Programs at vote.org, who leads a dynamic, large-scale Get Out the Vote initiative that has significantly influenced the voting landscape. So Sydney, please tell us more about vote.org.
Thank you, Caroline. Hi, everyone. I'm Sydney Rose, representing vote.org as its Senior Director of Policy and Programs. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm really excited to talk to you about not only vote.org's suite of tools, which includes voter registration, polling place locator, what's on your ballot tool, assistance on voting by mail, but also leads into our robust Get Out the Vote program, which takes voters from the registration piece to the ballot box. So we provide the infrastructure that powers the registration and Get Out the Vote efforts of hundreds of the nation's largest and most consequential programs. We have all the information that voters need in every state, down to the smallest detail, to deadlines and options for voting, be it on election day, early, or by mail. In 2022 alone, vote.org served over 12 million users, and over 42% of whom were under the age of 35. We currently offer our tools for free to anyone who visits our website in both English and Spanish, and we have options for organizations, as the other two my colleagues mentioned, to get more detailed data and information on users. As I mentioned before, our suite of tools helps you register to vote, check your voter registration status, request a ballot to vote by mail, sign up for election reminders, check what's on your ballot, and find your polling place, pledge to register, and pre-register to vote. But what truly sets vote.org apart is the user experience and reliability. Our technology is field tested for all 50 states and DC and moves voters all the way through the process of voting, from thinking about registering to actually casting your ballot. Our back-end systems are extremely reliable, staying online even in extreme situations, like when some states' own systems went down in 2018 and 2020 on the day of voter registration deadline. This means that we can help voters navigate contingencies and make new plans. We are all for making the process as easy as possible, and we know that some extenuating circumstances can come up. So our tools are designed to guide voters through the process, and they are tailored to each state's regulations, vetted by a legal team, and also we coordinate directly with local election offices. Our engagement doesn't stop at registration. Once onboarded, users receive personalized election emails and texts. This program is not just informative, but also has been proven to significantly boost turnout. We've streamlined our tools for both voters and the organizations that leverage them. The language we use is straightforward, ensuring that voters are directed through the most efficient digital-first process where available, integrating with state websites where possible. And to make sure that no one is left behind, we place our opt-in message right on the first page, which supports the entire Get Out the Vote process. Organizations can embed our tools to fit with their branding, as well as access and leverage data insights and receive personalized support from our team to support your programs. And one other thing that I want to mention is that accessibility is not just a buzzword for us, it's a commitment. We've invested heavily in ensuring our tools are user-friendly for everyone, emphasizing features like optimal color contrast, legible font sizes, compatibility with screen readers. We've also ensured easy keyboard navigation and clear focus indicators, and regular accessibility audits really keep us on our toes, and we always implement recommendations as a priority. In our quest for continuous improvement, we've introduced 2 new features since last National Voter Registration Day. We now offer a pre-registration tool for all 16 and 17-year-olds who are eligible to pre-register in all states where that is available. And we provide a state-specific list of political parties that users can register with. This state-specific list helps ensure a smooth process with local election officials in states where online voter registration is not available. Again, our commitment to voter engagement doesn't end with registration. Given my role running our Get Out the Vote programs, I have to talk briefly about our Get Out the Vote program because I am so proud of it. In 2022, we engaged voters almost 270 million times through our various channels. Our active email list has over 11.2 million voters, and we sent over 40 million unique text messages providing crucial election information during the midterms. So in essence, vote.org is more than just a platform. It's a movement dedicated to ensuring every voice is heard, every vote counts, and every citizen is empowered in the democratic process. And I'm really honored to be here with other leaders from groups who are working towards the same vision, and in particular, our wonderful partners at NVRD. And I'm really excited to answer any questions that you all have. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Sydney. So Alex, Sydney, Chris, Angelica, please come back on camera. We're going to start the conversation and Q&A portion. Got a lot of great questions from the audience. I want to make sure we get to as many as possible. And thank you again, everyone, for joining a part of this important discussion as we're a month away from NVRD, and also 2024 is right around the corner. So this is all great timing. The first question that I would like to pose to each of you is basically, we know that a lot of groups, beyond the ones that we currently work with or you currently work with that harness online registration, could be using OVR. But a common concern that I hear from organizations in our field programs that utilize these tools is the increasing number of people with raising privacy concerns on online tools. So sensitive information, security, and all that sort of thing. We also have a couple questions from the audience around kind of how do third-party tools use this data? Do companies that partner with you have access to the voters' information? So we do get a lot of questions like that. So for Sydney, Chris, Angelica, what would you say to a voter who is hesitant about using online registration generally? And then for Alex, how have you navigated these concerns when using OVR tools? Chris, if you could kick us off.
Yeah, definitely. Just making sure I'm off mute. So we take data privacy very seriously. I mean, we've opted to undergo regular independent third-party security audits to ensure that we comply with the National Institute of Standards and Technology standards. We do not sell any personal information to third parties, and personal data is used only for voter mobilization and engagement purposes. We are definitely very sensitive to that concern. Sensitive information such as driver's licenses or social security numbers are immediately discarded. So needless to say, we make sure that we take care of making sure that that data is kept safe.
Yeah, I would give a very similar response to Chris. I know all the groups take it super seriously. And something I think about too is the value of the insights that we're providing to partners with some of this data. And really the ability to help each individual voter. So, we work with a lot of colleges, and our implementers on college campus will go up to the student and say, hey, I saw that you registered on campus, and I want to help you, right? And so I think there's a lot of really important work that gets done too when you do have additional insights into who you're serving and sort of what actions they're taking and where they need extra help. But privacy and security is certainly a top priority, something we similarly take really seriously, going through third-party reviews. And yeah, I think all the groups here take that very seriously.
Similarly, we have kind of the same mentality when it comes to privacy and security. I just add that a user's data on vote.org's platform is encrypted in transit and at rest, which is something that I'm sure all of the other platforms have as well. We also, vote.org is actively monitored 24/7 by an external professional security company. So we, proactively are making sure that our data is extra secure, and we use multi-factor authentication and physical authenticator keys for staff who need access to the data. And I do want to underscore the importance of using the aggregated data for the benefit of the community. This can't really be underestimated. And we do a lot of analysis on our data, removing the PII from the data, the personally identifying information, to make sure that we are, using the information in a way that is robust and helpful to the community, while also protecting the privacy of the users who trust us and use our tools to make sure that they have everything they need to vote.
So, and Alex, could you chime in with your thoughts on this in your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my perspective is probably a little bit different because we aren't currently using one of the third-party tools, but we use our Secretary of State's website. So generally, people have some level of trust that they're putting their information directly into the source that collects the information. One way that we just help build trust with people we're talking to if they do express hesitancy is we always have a paper form option, and often help explain that in a lot of ways, the online portal is more secure, even though there's always going to be a chance of a hack. We don't want to pretend like everything's 100% secure and we know nothing will ever happen, because we can't predict the future and something bad could happen. But by putting their information directly into the Secretary of State's portal, it's eliminating a lot of time where there could be other errors or information could be leaked. And immediately in that file, any of the personal identifying information like their social security number would not be accessible. Where if it's on a paper form, we need to get that form to the county clerk before it gets entered into that system. And ultimately, it will be entered into a system. So if that system was hacked, regardless of if someone registered using a paper form or online, their information would be on the file.
So we've got a couple of these follow-up questions on security in the Q&A that I'm going to give out to the group. Or specifically if anyone has been so one question we've got is, what do the third-party groups do with voter information? Is there, I'm not sure if this is a typo, but sharpening or selling of information? I think some of you have already gone over this, but if anyone wants to chime in with additional what you specifically do with it, might be helpful for people to understand a little more kind of what that community benefit or what those analyses are.
Yeah, I can jump in. So something we're able to do for all of our partners is provide them with a voter file mapped report. So we're able to say, these are the people that signed up on your TurboVote site. We actually go look at the state voter files themselves. And we're going to say this percentage of your audience successfully registered, this percentage turned out, and there's actually a lot more you can glean from that, right? Oh, we're doing really well with young voters. We need to do better with Black voters. And you can kind of get into the data by pairing the voter files, which are from the states and they're out there and they exist, with the data that you might have collected through a tool like TurboVote. And so our partners love getting these reports. They're super excited to always dig into them because that actually gives you a bit of insight into where you're doing well and where you can improve and how to iterate on your strategy year over year. And this is something that's possible, because they're using a tool like TurboVote.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'd also add that partners who use our portals are able to make unique campaign codes, so you can really compare tactic to tactic, message to message. And I think that's invaluable, especially when we're looking at a large scale program. The difference between a 4% response rate versus a 6% response rate is tremendous. And we know that some of the closest margins in many states are come down to the person or the group of people. So we really need to be able to make sure that we are delivering the most efficient message at the most efficient point in time. So leveraging campaign codes to do deeper analysis is really beneficial, not only to the organizations that are using them, but also some organizations are disseminating to the larger movement. So we can get some really, really important insight there.
One question we've gotten in the Q&A is, do you track who votes? If yes, how? Anyone can jump in.
You know, we can take, again, you sign up on one of our partner sites. We can say the Joe Smith in Nebraska sign up. It looks like there's a Joe Smith on Nebraska, in Nebraska, you know, on the Nebraska voter file, you know, the government, you know, record of that. But we wouldn't go back to our partner and say, hey, Joe Smith voted or Joe Smith didn't vote. And so I think that's at a highest level, you know, we're able to provide aggregate insights, and that is really beneficial to partners. But you know, we're not sharing this is who voted and who didn't vote, or you know, this is who someone voted for in any particular election. It's really about kind of those higher level stats that might help you inform your broader efforts.
And we would echo that at Rock the Vote as well. Absolutely.
Another data question that we got in the chat is, can you opt out of outreach texts or emails? Anyone can take this.
Yeah, absolutely. So while individuals can opt out of outreach texts and emails, also organizations can opt out from outreach texts and emails. So if you have a specific plan and you don't want your users to be messaged from two organizations, you can opt out at the beginning of a program with us, so that users will only receive your organization's messages. I just, you know, since I run our GeoTV programs, I do want to name that if you don't have a program planned, it's best to keep your voters opted in. But then on the user level, each user can absolutely manage what types of messages they receive, including opting out completely from all communications.
Switch away from data and security and shift into costs.
I know all of us have, you know, something that any voter can go to right now on the internet and get help from, right? And so when we think about, you know, costs for our tools, we're thinking about organizations that may want to go deeper, do branding, get additional support and additional data. And nonprofits are a super important group that is engaging voters. You know, we work with companies too, and colleges and other types of organizations. But we're always trying to keep an organization's budget in mind. I think that's how we look at the pricing for our tools. And so would always be happy to talk to any organization that's interested. But you know, we're a mission-driven nonprofit ourselves, so that's a big part of how we approach that.
And similarly, we can have, if someone can reach out to our civic tech team, we can definitely follow up with you on specifics, but we operate kind of on a sliding scale as well. So I'm happy to provide some additional information on that after this.
And just to name, we also operate, the pricing is based on an organization's budget, but that is specifically to get access to the data on the back end. Any organization can actually embed our tools for free. That kind of premium subscription includes other services. And yeah, if you reach out to partnerships@vote.org, we can talk about specific pricing.
One other thing around cost is not so much the cost for the partner, but actually how your organizations / nonprofits are funded and just the nonpartisanship of that.
Yeah, vote.org and all of our organizations are 501c3s. So we are 100% nonpartisan nonprofit organizations. We take great pride in compliance with that mandate because we know that our democracy is stronger when everyone is able to vote. Our tools are funded by a variety of sources, notably from grassroots supporters who chip in to make sure that our tools are available for other folks. So it's really rewarding for me to know that, you know, a lot of voters find our tools very useful and then contribute, you know, nominal amounts to make sure that we can reach other voters. So I just wanted to speak about that piece.
Yeah, and I would just add that, like, go to our website. Also, we'll talk about our funders there and want that to be known to all.
Likewise, we're foundations and individual donors as well.
what types of assistance are provided to voters whose first language is something other than English through platforms like TurboVote, TurboVote, and Vote.org? You guys can each take a stab at this, and then Alex, I know there's also language things that you with lots of.
So our tools and resources are available in 13 languages, and I can provide that list if it's the best way to save it in the chat or share it in the chat, but happy to provide additional information to anyone that has the specific question if they want to reach out.
We're at English and Spanish TurboVote.
Mute. Our tools are in English and Spanish as well. And we also share resources like the nonpartisan voter helpline, which can help in additional languages as well.
And I can just chime in. I think most of what I mentioned, most of what CRC does, we are reaching English and Spanish speakers, but in Colorado, there is a multilingual ballot access hotline that voters can call to have ballots translated or register and get kind of that translation support. So we just provide postcards in the multiple different languages that help direct voters to that resource.
And one other piece that I think might be true for other third-party tools, but when a voter uses vote.org in Spanish, our election reminder program is also fully in Spanish. So there are a lot of resources. We have all voter registration deadlines, access to polling place locators. Everything is fully in the language with that the user came to us using. So just wanted to name that as well.
There's a lot of questions on how someone might choose between the various tools. I know this is a difficult question as you guys, each are representing your own tool, but for someone who is new at this, how would you just pitch the differentiation between the tools and help someone out who's really looking at this for the first time, being like, wow, there's these three things that are very similar. You guys all treat this very seriously.
Definitely. I think it really just depends on what someone is trying to achieve. The good thing about our OVR tools, it is so customizable. You can really use it in any way. We find that a lot of people enjoy using it as a QR code because it really does eliminate the need for a laptop. If it's time crunch and you really can't complete it, you need to get to it later, you can definitely do it that way as well. So it really just depends on sort of what the organization or individual is looking to achieve. And we sort of work with them to help them identify that.
Yeah, I think we're all awesome. I'll say that as my opening statement. I like to highlight our election coverage. I mean, we really get down to even the sub-municipal level in terms of elections we track and then remind our users about. So organizations might be doing a big push in a federal year. Now your voters, as long as they want to stay subscribed to TurboVote notifications, they're going to get reminders about future opportunities to vote, even down to the local level, which I think really local voter turnout is like the frontier that we need to work on making inroads in more than ever. So that's what I like to highlight as one of my favorite aspects of our product.
Yeah, I'd say similarly, if you can't choose, you can always go to nationalvoterregistrationday.org and use one of the three of us at random. But I will say what sets vote.org apart is our both user experience from the perspective of the voter as well as the perspective of the organization. We have really bespoke customer service options, and will really help leverage our expertise in the get out the vote space to take voters from the registration all the way to the ballot box. And one number that my CTO is going to be really upset with me for saying aloud is that our tools have zero unplanned downtime in the last 4 elections. So our tools are really reliable, and you can really trust that they will be there for your programs when and where you need them. So that's what I'll say about vote.org.
I want to once again thank our guests, Chris, Alex, Angelica, and Sydney for sharing the wealth of information that you have and your great resources. Definitely very beneficial. I push for everyone to use their resources. It's a great opportunity for us to use to learn more. And first of all, learn more. And second, be able to access the different tools that are out here to register people. And just letting you know that we are a little over a month. September 19th is National Voter Registration Day. We're excited this year and looking forward to everyone who's participating. And last but not least, If you get an opportunity, please go on our website and check our webinars. We have a plethora of information for you, and would love for you to learn more about the work that we're doing and the work that our partners are doing, because we are really striving to move this work forward. I thank you again for your time, and we look forward to seeing you at National Voter Registration Day. Everyone have a great day.